of this was decided.
You really think you can change the future?
All of this was decided.
The truth is what you see with your eyes, not what you hear.
All of this was decided.
Good tidings, ladies and gentlemen of the lodge, and welcome back. This is a video I have wanted to make for the longest time, but as those of you know, when it comes to Kingdom Hearts, there is no shortage of things for us to talk about. Kairi will be the one under the spotlight and microscope today, as I have made this video with the intention of showing that Kairi is a better character than you might think. If you happen to disagree with the premise, know that I am not here to change your mind, only to show you that there is more to this light-wielding red-headed Princess of Heart than meets the eye. Myself personally, I actually really like Kairi's character, and truly believe the series simply would not be the same without her. As we carry on, I will first be addressing some of the popular criticisms of the character before discussing her story arc entirely. Now with that said, may this Kingdom Hearts commentary commence! So I want to begin by tackling a phrase I often hear associated with Kairi, but one that I do not find to be a fair label in any sense. That label being a damsel in distress. If we isolate a handful of moments and ignored everything orbiting those moments, I suppose you could make the case. But before I continue any further, let us lay out the definition of the term. Damsel in distress, a helpless woman who needs to be rescued from some danger. The term is a reference to the stereotypical female character in romantic stories who serves solely to be rescued by a heroic male character. Let's start by primarily focusing on that last part there. Stereotypical female character in romantic stories who serves solely to be rescued by a heroic male character. There are many factors in Kairi's arc that dismantle this characterization completely. Let's start with the most upfront one. Again, as stated before, if we isolate these particular moments of Kairi being captured and Sora saving her, it would appear to fit the bill. But this would be completely ignoring the other half of this equation, that being that Kairi has saved Sora in every single numbered title and then some. Let's go down the list. Kingdom Hearts 1. Kairi saves Sora by using her Princess of Heart powers to return him to form after being turned into a Heartless. Kingdom Hearts 2. Kairi saves Sora and Riku with her message in a bottle that saves them from the Realm of Darkness. Kingdom Hearts 3. Kairi saves not only Sora, but all of the Guardians by using the power in her heart to hold on to and believe in Sora so that he could piece himself and everything back together one by one. Kairi was the light in the darkness that never went out.
The light in the darkness. It was you!
Moving on beyond just the numbered titles, turns out the lucky charm Kairi gave Sora in Kingdom Hearts 1 ended up being what saved him in Chain of Memories. Without Kairi's lucky charm, Sora would not have had anything to ground him in reality while he continued to lose his memories. The organization tried to use the charm to their advantage, only for it to backfire. So again, bringing this back to the damsel in distress argument, you absolutely cannot make the case that Kairi serves the purpose of solely being rescued by Sora. To conclude this would ignore the fact that for every time Sora saves Kairi, Kairi in return saves Sora, and then some. And when we think about this a little further, you'll find that no character in the Kingdom Hearts series is above needing to be saved. Every Guardian of Light has needed to be saved at one point or another. Sora and Kairi were just doing it before it was cool. I also want to talk about all the different methods of Kairi saving Sora, but we're going to get into the significance of that later in the video. Next, let's move on to the next criticism we often hear, which is Kairi's power level. This is often something that the character is criticized for, but again, I'm not sure it's one that I would particularly agree with. Now, if we're talking about her abilities as a Keyblade wielder, Kairi certainly is lagging behind Sora and Riku, and for good reason. More on that in a minute. But power in the world of Kingdom Hearts doesn't only come into play by way of the Keyblade. I could point to Naminé and her memory powers, or Merlin's time magic, Fairy Godmother, I can go on, but oftentimes I feel like a lot of the powers and abilities Kairi possesses as a Princess of Heart often get overlooked despite how useful they are. Kairi's number one weapon, in a sense, is her heart. Look no further than the instances we brought up before where Kairi managed to save Sora. Again, whether it's returning him to form, the lucky charm that keeps him grounded, the message in a bottle that brings him home, holding on to him so he could piece himself back together, so that she can guide him back to the surface to change fate. Needless to say, if we look beyond the Keyblade and its abilities, we start to see that Kairi already possesses a massive amount of power and unique ability. Now don't get me wrong, I'm all for Kairi's current venture to become a Keyblade wielder, and I think it makes perfect sense with where her story is headed. So it would be foolish to ignore not only her unique powers, but also the significance to the story and her repeated success at saving Sora. Next, it's time for us to get into Kairi and her story arc, so we could take a look at the big picture and what's taking place over the course of all these games. So, for starters, it's important to note that from the outset, Kairi was not treated as a Keyblade wielder or as a warrior in battle. That doesn't mean this wasn't in Nomura's plans, but as far as Kingdom Hearts 1 goes, there's nothing here to suggest Kairi would be a warrior of that kin. However, the first game primarily focuses on her powers of a Princess of Heart. In many ways, part of the first game is to introduce Kairi as a mystery, and where Kairi goes, mystery follows. Riku even alludes to this on Destiny Islands.
You've been thinking a lot lately, haven't you?
Thanks to you. If you hadn't come here, I probably would have never thought of any of this. Kairi, thanks.
Anyway, Kairi is established as the most precious person to Sora, and Kairi again alludes to their special bond, joking that Sora and Kairi should just take the raft themselves. So it becomes obvious these two want to be together, but they will soon find out they live in a world that will actively try and tear them apart. But right here at the outset, we see what Kairi's goals are: to set out and explore other worlds, but with her friends, primarily Sora, by her side. But Destiny Islands would soon fall to darkness, tearing the three friends apart. Kairi serves as a sort of North Star to Sora, and along the way we learn about her destiny as a Princess of Heart. The mystery that is Kairi has begun to unravel ever so slightly. Upon Kairi's rescue, Sora sacrifices himself and becomes a Heartless. Kairi, with her powers as a Princess of Heart, is able to recognize Sora in this form, while the others cannot. Additionally, she uses her powers to restore Sora to how he was, and thus the back and forth cycle of these two saving each other has now begun. Kairi later decides to get ahead of this by crafting Sora a lucky charm that he promises to return to her. We reach the game's conclusion, and Kairi, the mysterious girl who wanted to set out from her home and explore with her two friends, now lives in a world where all three of them have been separated. Be careful what you wish for. We know how Kairi comes into play in Chain of Memories. Again, we've covered it numerous times. It's her lucky charm that saves Sora in several ways. But let's move on to her in Kingdom Hearts 2. Due to the consequences of Chain of Memories, Kairi can no longer remember Sora, but the memories start to bleed in again one at a time. In response, Kairi writes the letter that would later bring Sora and Riku back home. But this is where Kairi displays that she has already started to change between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. She no longer wants to wait back and let the conflict resolve itself, hoping for the best for her and her friends. She sets out from Destiny Islands looking for them, despite the fact that she lacks any serious way to defend herself. Is it foolish, hasty, immature, reckless? Yes! But that's the point. This ends up getting Kairi into trouble as she ends up kidnapped by Axel. Kidnapped, you say? This might be a good time to rewind the tape here. Let us recall that this kidnapping is not Kairi's first and actually seems to not only be a pattern in her life, but the source of some latent trauma. Axel, the one who kidnapped Kairi, is a member of Organization 13. And though his motives and goals may differ as a rebel to the organization, the sheer fact is, with Xemnas running the show, this is the first aspect of Xehanort, Kairi's original kidnapper, seeping back into the picture. Anyway, Kairi ends up rescued by both Sora and Riku, and the trio find themselves reuniting, where again, we see Kairi's power of the heart come into play to help Sora see the truth behind Riku's appearance. Displaying this ability of Kairi's is no accident, and shortly after, she ends up wielding a Keyblade for the first time in her attempts to assist her friends. And while she gets involved in the fighting, she really doesn't do much but whack a couple of Heartless. But hey, not bad for a rookie! Kairi reunites herself with Naminé, sends Sora and Riku off to fight Xemnas, and lays waiting for them at Destiny Islands for their return, thanks to her message in a bottle. So where does Kairi go from here? It is implied that Kairi is going to start receiving special training to develop her skills as a Keyblade wielder. Kairi asking for formal training goes to show the growth of her character. In Kingdom Hearts 2, waiting back on the islands wasn't good enough, but she soon learned that she's going to need to learn how to defend herself, as her Princess of Heart powers simply will not suffice in that regard. She couldn't join Sora and Riku in the fight against Xemnas because she had a Keyblade for 5 minutes. She's seen what recklessness has done to her in the past. This will bridge us into Kingdom Hearts 3, where she undergoes that training alongside Axel. Remember when I mentioned Kairi's kidnapping earlier, and how this is a source of trauma for her? Well, this is her first step in confronting this. She mentions in her letters to Sora how she was initially frightened about the prospect of training alongside someone who formerly had kidnapped her. But Kairi is able to make peace with this. Her heart allows her to bond with Axel, and even helps to steadily restore some of his memories of Xion. We see Kairi befriend someone who was once an enemy, and she is able to get beyond what transpired between the two. We then have the scene between Sora and Kairi where they share a Pow Pow fruit before the final battle, bonding their destinies together indefinitely. In a lot of ways, this sharing of the Pow Pow fruit brings the spell Aqua cast on Kairi full circle. Then we have the Keyblade Graveyard. We see Kairi relatively hold her own, taking out a few Heartless and standing her ground. The gang would essentially be defeated, and Light would fall, as prophesied. But this is where Kairi pulls her most powerful move yet, showing that even though she may wield a Keyblade, her powers extend far beyond it. In their demise, Kairi holds on to Sora, allowing him to piece himself back together, and then follow through to change fate. Kairi is at the root of the Guardians' victory in Kingdom Hearts 3, but it didn't come without a price. Kairi now must be faced with her kidnapper once more. In her capture, she is killed off in front of Sora as a means to motivate him to misuse the power of waking once and for all. Upon doing so, Kairi is brought back, but she's brought back into a position that has been building since the time she was a child. Kairi must go face to face with the man who kidnapped her from her home all those years ago, Xehanort. It could not be more fitting to have Kairi in this battle. And though she's able to hold her ground in the fight, we can hear in the battle quotes that she still lacks confidence. Sora and Kairi are victorious, setting things right and clearing the path for the Guardians to close Kingdom Hearts. Sora and Kairi spend some final days and moments together before they are yet separated from one another, unable to just go on that raft and explore worlds. But my friends, Kairi's story doesn't end here. Next we have Melody of Memory, which I think did even more for this character than we may have initially thought. Let's round it out here then. In a search for Sora, the Radiant Garden Gang takes a dive through Kairi's memories. In that dive, we end up in the final world, a realm where sleep and death can overlap. Kairi is then confronted by the source of her trauma, her kidnapper and now killer, Xehanort. This next part is what's going to bring it all together, so get yourself ready. Kairi has of course fought Xehanort before, but she did it with Sora by her side. So let's be honest. Kairi is certainly much more skilled with the Keyblade than she was in Kingdom Hearts 2, but there is absolutely no way she would have ever stood a chance against Xehanort without Sora there, and she knows this. In defiance of this, she takes on Xehanort, and the two of them do battle in what might be the best animated fight cutscene in the whole series. Regardless, Kairi learns what she feared and we all knew. She stands no chance against Xehanort on her own, and as a result, Sora is brought in to close the gap. I understand if someone would have preferred Kairi fight Xehanort alone and win, but again, this idea she would grow to a level equal to Xehanort in a matter of a year or two would be an insult to Xehanort's lifelong quest for power and Sora's strength and ability, which he has harnessed for years on end. Kairi gets humbled, but as a reward for her courage, Xehanort dispatches useful information to her. We then reach a point where the gang has a way of reaching Sora. Kairi, in her heart, wanted to go, but seeing as her eagerness and recklessness has gotten her into trouble in the past, she knows and understands that she has to stay back and train to become stronger. If Kairi couldn't best Xehanort in her dreams, what makes her think that she's prepared for the threat that lies waiting in Quadratum? Sora's recklessness has cost him time and time again, and got us into the current situation we are in now. Kairi is choosing a more careful approach, and I love this because it differentiates herself between Sora and Riku, especially Sora. We then learn that Kairi requests and is granted the right to train under Master Aqua, really making her the first character between Sora, Riku, and herself to receive formal training from an active Keyblade Master, an advantage her two friends never had. So where does this leave us? In a sense, Kairi's story can be summed up as such. In a world where no character is exempt from needing saving, Kairi is there to save both Sora and Riku time and time again. Saving Sora in Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories, saving them both in Kingdom Hearts 2, and her saving everyone in Kingdom Hearts 3. Her Princess of Heart powers make her one of the most powerful assets the Guardians have, but those powers are not enough for her. She wants to excel at both a Princess of Heart and Keyblade wielder. Kairi wants to do more. Kairi wants to do better. and her desire for those outcomes are what made her eager and reckless and got her into trouble time after time. Kairi's desire to do more is her biggest strength and her biggest weakness. However, the Kairi standing before us today appears more patient, more stoic, and motivated, taking time to consider what path is best for her, whose wisdom she wishes to follow, and what level of power she wants to reach. Kairi was wise to not eagerly jump to Quadratum. That alone shows how much she has grown from earlier in the series. Sora will inevitably need saving again, and though Kairi's Princess of Heart powers have saved him over and over, I believe what lies ahead is a Kairi who can protect the things that matter, not only with the strength of her heart, but with the strength of her Keyblade. And beyond all these mystical powers and blades lay something perhaps even more astounding with Kairi. It's the ordinary things, things like belief and faith, both of which you could argue are products of the heart, that come through at the most crucial moments. Her belief in Sora that held him together, her faith in Riku despite his appearance, her faith in Axel to change his ways, her belief that Naminé deserved to be her own person. Kairi's heart has never led her, nor us, wrong. And to just top it off here, while Sora travels world after world, seeing the best in everyone he meets, Kairi sees the best in Sora. And I believe this next arc will be Kairi learning to instill that same belief in herself. I will admit that in the earlier days of this series, Kairi was more on the periphery than center stage. But in a post-Kingdom Hearts 3 world, it's obvious that other than Sora and Xehanort, no other character has gotten more attention and development than Kairi. Seeing as the games, especially the numbered titles, primarily follow Sora around, this always presents a challenge for developing characters who aren't necessarily by our side on the journey. This is why it would appear to me with Kairi, they are taking the slow burn approach. This slow burn approach puts her in direct contrast with Sora and Riku, whose power and abilities were fast-tracked very early in the series to get the story going. Between this slow burn approach, Kairi's formal training, and Kairi's careful approach, we see how Kairi is developing much differently than her two friends have, and that to me is what has made Kairi, especially lately, so much fun to watch. But that's gonna just about do it for us here today, so I hope whether you came into this video liking, loving, or hating this character, that you come away feeling as if she was a better character than you might have thought. And I hope that as the years go on and the story rolls on, that we continue to feel that way. But at the end of the day, I want to know what you all think. Feel free to drop in the comments below to let me know, subscribe to the channel for more gaming content, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I will see all of you beautiful sickos and normies next time.
All of this was decided.
You really think you can change the future?
All of this was decided.
The truth is what you see with your eyes, not what you hear.
All of this was decided.
Why not just sit back and watch it play out?
All of this was decided.
May your heart be your guiding key.